Okay, Melissa Rein Lively, thank you for being here today from the Brand Consortium. You own a couple of PR firms here in town. Everyone in this community knows you. And I just appreciate you driving down from Sedona today. So I'm going to jump right into it. Share us a little bit about your background and what brought you into the PR field.
Sure. Well, thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I'm split my time from Scottsdale and Sedona, so it's not that hard, but I'm really excited to be here today. So I got into the PR world through the news business. So when I started my career, I wanted to be like a fashion and entertainment reporter, like Juliana Rancic on the runway saying, what are you wearing on the red carpet and stuff like that. And it's just funny to look back now at that job, which nobody watches that anymore. Like it was a ridiculous aspiration in the first place, and the news business is terrible. So PR really turned out to be the right fit for me because I love working with businesses and brands and helping them tell their story and cultivate their brand strategy. And it's very satisfying to me to work with companies and help take them from point A to point B, with different ideas and concepts that help them stand out in their industry.
Okay. So what was your first job in that industry?
My first job in this industry was, believe it or not, was actually working on TV, which is a crazy story, which never happens. But it happened to me because I was a junior at ASU, and I needed to get an internship that was on camera. So what did I do? What everybody does. I went out to the hallway from my JMC 301 class. There was a big board on the hallway that had job postings. And I literally signed up for all of them. And I got one call from one. And went back to this interview 8 times, and I didn't know what it was for, but all it said was cash pay, $50 an hour, which for a young college student whose parents were
a lot of money.
About to cut me off. I was like, that was a lot of bar money. And then and it said on camera and $50 an hour. I was like, okay, this is great. So I went to 8 interviews for this thing, and they didn't tell me what it was until the last interview when the other person who I would be on camera with walked in, and I immediately knew who it was because it was somebody who I recognized from Channel 5, from CBS. And they said, okay, you've got the job, and you're going to be a weekend host with this guy. His name was Lucas James. And we want you to do that because you don't have a contract. You need on-camera experience. I was like, this is great. And I beat out, like 50 other people or something for the job. Ended up doing that for 2 years. And really got to know how like a newsroom works. And so that was really cool, but it also taught me that I didn't really want to work on TV because I was not good with somebody in my ears telling me what I had to say all the time and not being able to ask my own questions. And so that was kind of a disappointing, lesson in the news business. So what I wanted to do was switch over to the PR side where I got to tell the news or help them, cultivate stories and tell them what to say.
Okay. So I'm going to change gears on you here. Where did you grow up?
I'm from Colorado originally. So I, health and wellness has always been really, really big part of my life. I think I want to say my parents are hippies, but that makes them sound weird. They weren't hippies, but my mom was very ahead of the game in terms of healthy eating and aerobics and lifestyle. And my parents were big skiers. My mom was almost an Olympic skier until she got hurt. So, just having a really fit, energetic, healthy lifestyle with clean food was really, really important to my family. I didn't get to eat a lot of junk food and stuff like that growing up. So rather than rebelling against that, I've kind of leaned into that. So having a really clean lifestyle my whole life has just kind of been part of who I am.
So even as a kid, you ate clean? Because I can't get my children to eat clean. That's
I did,
impressive.
But my mom had the philosophy that if they don't know what McDonald's chicken nuggets are, they've never had them, they're not going to ask for them. So now, when I see food like that or I smell food like that, I just am like, because I've had it, of course, but I just don't like it.
We have an epidemic of low-quality food in this country right now, don't we?
It's criminal. Yeah, it's criminal.
Big food is really damaging our society, aren't they? Feeding us the chemical-laden food, the pesticide residues. It's a problem. That's pretty impressive that your parents were ahead of the game.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think people kind of, that's what happens when you're kind of like a first mover and stuff like that. Like people think that you're a nutcase, that you're feeding your kids, sprouts and what was it? That green grass stuff that everybody used to drink. I forgot.
Wheatgrass.
Wheatgrass. Oh, my mom used to make us drink wheatgrass every day. But now I just feel like my vitality and my health, is excellent. Knock on wood, but it's excellent, and my level of energy. I hear people my age. I just turned 39. I hear other people saying I have back problems. I have, I get injured easily. I'm tired. I'm like, I have so much energy that like if I don't get to the gym every single day and do at least an hour of cardio, I'm just like spinning out of control. So I mean, it's just that just is kind of like why that sort of vitality sort of like flows through my veins. But and what you say is really interesting. I know you guys travel quite a bit like we do. And I spent the last week in Palm Beach where I ate nothing but restaurant food. And I don't spend a lot, we don't vacation a lot in the United States. We go to Europe a lot. So that's the first time I'd really been, staying in a hotel that long in the US in like many, many years, eating at the nicest restaurants, probably, among the nicest restaurants in the country, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, still got sick.
You can't control what's getting in your food.
Yep.
Yeah.
And even if it's a high quality restaurant, I just think that the ingredients that are in the food that the restaurants buy from, the distribution companies, even if it's a 5-star restaurant, still not very good for you. And I was really like surprised me because you'd think you're eating nice places, it'd be better quality food. Not really.
You got to have energy to be successful, don't you?
Absolutely.
So you mentioned morning. So you're a high performer. So what is your morning routine?
Well, I get up. So I've got clients all over the country and some in Europe also. So I have to get up pretty early in order to be able to get on the phone with them, because if I'm up at 7 or 8 Arizona time, it's already 11 a.m. On the East Coast. And they're like, where you been all day? So I really do need that extra time. I feel like the older that I get, I'm starting to creep up a little bit, getting up a little bit early, maybe a little bit too early. Those super high performers are up at like 4:30 in the morning. I don't think that's particularly very good for my lifestyle, because I do also need to sleep. I've found that at least 7 hours of sleep is kind of critical for my brain to function the way that it is, and make sure that I don't have one of the lesser qualities about me that I'm always working on is, like anybody else, but if you get irritated, snapping at people or just being, short with people or whatever, I'm always trying to get better about that. And I feel like if I don't sleep enough, my tendency to not be as patient as I need to be with either myself or with other people is increased. Yeah.
How many hours a night do you sleep?
Usually to me 7 is golden, but if I can get, at least 6, preferably 8, I'm in good shape. But I do see my little sleep app and I'm like, 5:38, that's not good. 5:38, it's not good. It's not going to be a good day. So.
Oh, I wish I could sleep till 5:30.
Really? What time do you wake up?
4.
You
every
are,
day,
but you're
anywhere
a doctor.
in the world.
I think doctors have a tendency to wake up very early. That's my experience in working with any type of expert, physician. They just happen to get up early. What time do you go to bed?
8:30. My wife calls me an old man.
Oh my gosh, I wish I could go to bed at 8:30. So how do you get, the kids go to bed when?
Same, 8:30.
Oh, so you're shutting the whole house down at 8:30?
We shut the house down.
That's
It gets dark at
perfect.
8:30.
That's perfect.
Pretty disciplined about that. I need my sleep.
The only reason why we don't go to bed that early, and my husband is very particular about his sleep, but his business is 100% here, so he can actually be at his desk at 8, and it's okay because he works till 7.
Sure.
Is our dogs are getting a little bit older, and we've played with how they need to be fed and stuff. Or we have one that has digestive issues and has to be fed in certain intervals. She needs to eat at midnight. Or she's going to have an upset stomach and she's not going to sleep through the night. So it's totally bizarre, but he feeds them at midnight and she can sleep perfectly through the night. And they'll be 17 next month, both of them, which is unheard of for both dogs.
What kind of dogs?
They're miniature dachshunds.
Okay.
So those dogs live a really long time if you take care of them. They're really healthy. But since COVID, that's been my husband's passion, is just making sure these dogs are as healthy as possible. You would be shocked what we feed these dogs. They eat better than some people, but they're very extremely healthy. If you saw them, they're running around like little 6-7-year-old dogs now. It's crazy. So I can't, as frustrated as I get, because I don't want to go to bed at midnight. I don't want to go to bed at 12:30. I see the reasoning, because I obviously love my dogs so much and I want them to live forever. So
your husband, I met him once. How did you meet your other half?
We met. He lived when I was at ASU, my parents invested in some condominium building, and I got to live there. So he lived in the condo above me. So we would pass each other every day, and he was really shy, and I was really shy, and I could tell he was
You were shy?
Oh, believe it or not, I was shy when it comes to talking to a guy. Plus, I was young, and he was obviously was working, because I would see him walk with his little. He's 7 years older than me, so he would walk with his little his little briefcase, and like he was obviously going to his job, and I'd be like rolling out of bed in like sweatpants to go to classes at ASU. I'm like, that guy's not going to talk to me. But and then I had a girlfriend in town, and she's like, I told him, like, oh, there's this guy I love this year. He's really cute. Like I'm in love with him. I want to talk to him. She's like, well, let's go talk to him. And I'm like, no. So she like drags me out of the house. We go up there, we ring his doorbell, and she like comes up with the story, like, can we borrow wine glasses? And of course, he's like a bachelor living with his other buddy, and they have like 2 wine glasses, and one is broken. And so he gives it to us, and we're like dying laughing. We're like, this is your wine glass? So then we just started talking. We found out we had friends in common, went out the next night, basically moved in together the next week, and have been together ever since.
How many years?
We've been married for just over 14 years married, 21 years together.
Wow.
Yeah. Crazy.
Good stuff.
I know you guys just celebrated your anniversary.
Just
too.
celebrated our 15th anniversary.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I have an amazing wife. I'm a lucky guy.
Your wife is amazing.
So I'm gonna ask you another question. When did you? I know you're very successful. When did you realize you kind of made it?
I don't know. It's hard to say because, as much as like I've accomplished a lot, like there's still so much I want to do. So like I think that there's like levels to it. So I mean, I guess there was a certain point maybe a few years ago where I was like, okay, everybody in Arizona knows me. I can pretty much pick up any client that I want. Now it's time for me to expand my business nationally and beyond. So, breaking into that, I really wanted to get into, top markets out of Arizona, because I kind of felt like I was a little bit too big for my britches in Arizona. But I still have tons of Arizona clients. I still love it. I still live here. But I guess it was that point where like I realized that I had grown out of, being a local publicist and needed to be a national global name.
Mm-hmm. And you had a pretty viral moment a few years back coming out of COVID.
Yeah.
Share with our listeners, that scenario. We were, during COVID, I can tell you my own personal, I had a hard time. COVID was really hard for me. I had a lot of lessons during COVID. One of the lessons for me was, it was really hard to believe, but when we weren't working, we weren't in the office, weren't in the clinic seeing patients, what I noticed was we ended up in the pool at 2:30 in the afternoon having margaritas, and then in the evening we're having red wine. So for me, what I realized was I got out of a routine of my sleep, my exercise, my meditation, and really just started drinking too much. Before I realized it, I'm like, wow, we've been doing this every day for over a year, and so we had to rein that back in. But share with I know during COVID you had a pretty viral moment. You had you went through some mental health issues. Isn't that correct?
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, who didn't? And
I did.
I can relate a lot to what you just said about that because, I am very much somebody, and I think that's very true about like type A high performing people, that they really need to, adhere to a routine, and it has to be pretty, regimented every day, or you're just completely out of sorts. And that was me, just day after day after day. And I'm sure like you, like
I spin out of control.
I had nothing to do. Like I literally, I had no clients, and the clients that I did have were like soul draining because I had to like help craft messages on how to like lay people off and tell people they weren't going to get paid and stuff. Like it was horrible. And it was really hard on me because I'm a fun publicist. Like I like working on things that like help people. And so, of course I do crisis stuff too, but like that amount of like crisis work while I'm facing my own crisis, like not knowing, what's going to happen with my own business.
Sure.
I'm being really angry about it because I was when you're talking about like that leveling up, right before COVID, I had just picked up, Hyatt, Nobu, like a bunch of like very high profile clients. There was a bunch of real estate development that was about to happen here. I had a client that was spending $500 million to build high-end condos in Old Town.
Wow. All
All these deals fell apart, and I just watched my whole like life flash before my eyes. It was horrible. It made me nuts and angry.
Yeah.
And angry. So the viral moment, the debate is out on, was that the result of a mental break, or was it vice versa, where, the viral episode, was calculated and then, caused a lot of strife after that? I would say probably, a bit of both. I saw an opportunity that I knew, when things got back to normal like they are now, the pendulum would swing so far in the opposite direction. It would swing forward. So I had to take a risk. Did it destroy my life for at least a year? Absolutely. Everybody in town was mad at me. There's people to this day were still mad at me about that.
Wow.
But did it help me get my name on a national level to allow me to tell my story and do something good, talking about mental health and really nobody's perfect. I'm not saying like I'm like this like mastermind and I planned all that and I didn't have a mental health issue. Like you got to be a little bit nuts if you're going to pull something like that, So
It's a humble statement.
Exactly. So I really did. I mean, and I needed it. Like I that was one of the biggest takeaways from COVID after that, after like I had to like be accountable for like the stuff that I did and how, upset people were. I lost a ton of business. People didn't understand it at the time, but everything that I lost, I got back, 10 times over, which is, was it a good risk? Yes. Do I recommend anybody just do it? No, because like I'm very skilled at literally this. So I know how to have like a big, PR, flop or a PR stunt like that. And I know how to fix it. So yeah, I mean, it was a rough road for a bit, but that's actually when I really started getting into spirituality and wellness and getting very serious about, my sleep and meditation and just getting into like different holistic modalities that, that I know I need now to sort of stay baseline because I'm one of those people that like, as we've all seen, like I can get really wrapped up in my own like deals and if I don't, like calm down, they can get out of control quickly.
Sure. So meditation, I'm a meditator. What's your method? Do you use guided meditation? Do you share with us how do you get to that space?
So I did the transcendental meditation program, which really kind of got me on the path. And since doing that, I've learned about different types. I really like theta brainwave and like sound driven
binaural beats or something like that.
Yeah, I think so. My brain like really like I can feel sort of my brain kind of like stepping down to like that theta state when I listen to music. I couldn't really. It was hard for me to get there with transcendental at first because basically what transcendental tells you is just it teaches you how to like the thoughts the racing thoughts that you couldn't stop, how to like make them go away, and I felt like the getting into like the binaural beats and the music helped like with more like training wheels to like fill that space because I was totally one of those people that was like such a nervous wreck all the time that was like, oh, what about this and what about this and these people don't like me and this
me too.
And being able just to say stop, push all of that away and focus on this really helped me come down. And I use it a lot, to help me like prepare to go to sleep if I've had like a really chaotic day and like I'm stressed out about something. Like it really does help me clear my mind in order to focus on sleep.
It is interesting with traditional meditation, just sitting there. I would sit there and after 10 seconds, I'm like, what am I doing here? You're such a jackass. You have 10 things to do. What are you doing? Your mind, and trying to just press that out of your consciousness is really hard. I find binaural beats and that guided meditation is really, really effective.
One of the things that like really was like a light bulb going off for me, like through learning the meditation process, is that I used to be really, really hard on myself, like really mean to myself. Like, if I would screw something up, I'd be like, you're such an idiot. Oh my God, you did this, blah, blah, blah. Like I'd be so mean to myself. And then all of a sudden, like one day I just had this realization. It's like, listen, if you're not going to talk yourself up, nobody else is, and if they do, you're not going to listen to them. Like I don't, and my husband would be like, I would get mad at him because he would be like, he'd be the one to like be honest with me, and be like, you shouldn't have done this, you did this wrong, blah blah. And I'd be like, that's so mean. You should be the one hyping me up. He's like, you should be the one hyping you up. I'm going to tell you the truth.
That's good stuff.
You need to take this information and do something with it. And he was right. So like when people think that I'm like, very arrogant or I think highly of myself, it's like, if I didn't think highly of myself to hype myself up, especially when I was going through those mental health challenges where like the press was writing horrible things about me, everybody hated me, like heard people were saying mean things about me. If I didn't like get with myself and be like, you can do this, you can get through this, you're smart, you're good at this, you know how to fix this, do this, then I would have never gotten back to where I am now. And so that just always stuck with me. Like if nobody is going to talk you up, you need to be your own biggest fan.
That is so true. We're so good. I was at church last weekend and our pastor was saying, we're so good at taking ourselves to the woodshed. but not giving ourselves positive affirmations. I mean, it's, we're so good at that, at being negative and beating ourselves up, aren't we?
Well, for anybody who's ever said anything bad about me or said anything mean about me or was mean to me, trust me, I've been 10 times meaner to myself. There's nothing you can say that hurt my feelings because I've already said it all to myself 1,000 times over. So I decided I'll just stop doing that. Like, if you can't be your own best friend, you're not going to have, what's the point?
Okay, one more question for you. What would people be surprised to learn about you that they wouldn't know?
I don't know. I guess people are always surprised. First of all, I think sometimes people are surprised that I'm actually intelligent. That's always a shocker because people look at me and they're like, she looks like she's a dumb blonde, and then I start talking. They're like, whoa, she's actually very intelligent. So that's always a shocker. But I think I'm a very deep person. I don't know how into the zodiac you are, but I'm Scorpio, so I'm a very deep introspective person. So when all of this happened, I can talk to the press about, what I go through, what I went through to go through the mental health stuff. But I really took it to another level and trying to examine, on a soul level, why am I like this? Why did I go through this? Why is this my journey? What does this mean? Where's my life going? What is my destiny? So I don't know. I think it's really hard to break through some of those layers because that really requires you to examine who you really are as a person. And sometimes when you peel back those layers, you don't like it. You don't like it, and you realize you have to change things about yourself. But you also realize you have to accept things about yourself too. That in PR especially, people think that PR is putting on a front and trying to be something you're not. And the best thing that I've ever done is just doubling down, tripling down, and what my authentic self and my authentic personality is, and just being confident that the people who get that and like me and are inspired by me and want to work with me will find me, and the people that don't are not meant for me. Not everything is meant for me, and I'm okay with that. So getting to that point where I was okay with that, and not feeling slighted, was and really committing to that, I think was probably the smartest thing I ever did, because now I work with people who I really, really love working with, and I'm excited to work with them every day, and I'm not and I'm passionate about them and their careers and what they do, and I'm their biggest fan, and I'm not just, in it through the motions because I need a job or I need clients or whatever.
Yeah. So, biggest lesson in life so far?
Be yourself, be kind to yourself, be your own biggest fan.
Good stuff. Be your own biggest fan. What inspires and motivates you?
I'm inspired and motivated by a lot of different things. I'm a very perceptive person. I love, music. Music kind of hypes me up, gets me kind of in the zone. I am one of those people who I really love being around other successful people. That's really what motivates and inspires me. And through my career, I've had the opportunity to work with a lot of people like that. I feel fortunate when I'm not the smartest person in the room.
I'm used to that.
Yeah, right. You're always smarter than me. But I do like to sit down, and be around people that I'm like, wow, I really am inspired by the way that they think, the way that they do things. I get a lot out of nature. Like I said, during COVID, we ended up getting a place in Sedona, which, is renowned for being, not only a very spiritual place, but very beautiful. And, I get the opportunity to hike and be outside and just, kind of be alone with my thoughts. And I thought that I would get up there and, listen to all these podcasts and listen to music and hike and stuff like that. And I very rarely put on my headphones when I'm outside. And I feel because of all the the meditation and awareness stuff that I've done, I get a lot more. I love to just walk for 2 hours and just think about things. I've always been the type of person that gets ideas in the shower. So I can kind of prolong that experience, through hiking.
Okay. So another question for you. You were recently in the media because you were one of the finalists to be President Trump's press secretary.
Yeah.
Kudos. How
Thank
cool
you.
is that?
Yeah,
wow.
wild.
What was that like? I mean, I saw you at Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah.
So share an interesting experience that you...
Where do I even begin on that? First of all, to even be considered, to be the spokesperson for what I believe will be, the greatest administration, the greatest, era in American history is just an honor in itself. And, I feel speaks really highly to my skill set and, my ability to articulate kind of like what that American dream vision is, because I really kind of feel like I am exemplary of the American dream. Having so many professional ups and downs, coming here as a second generation immigrant. My parents were given, or my grandparents were given $7 by the U.S. government, and they basically said, we will never take a dime from the U.S. government again. We want to be part of this society.
Stuff.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, we'll see what happens. I mean, potentially there still is an opportunity there. They have, lots of jobs, in the press office.
Sure.
But I really only saw myself, in the behind the podium in the spokesperson role. I don't need to be, a paper pusher at the White House. I'm a private sector person. I have wonderful clients and businesses that I'm very proud of, and I think that part of the Trump vision is to eliminate a lot of those paper pusher jobs that taxpayers have to pay for. So I don't need taxpayer money to do what I'm going to do. I just need to work with great clients that want to see this country get to the next level. But it was very, very honoring to go through that process. And I met Elon Musk, which was crazy. I said, well, if I don't get the Trump job, I'd be happy to take you on as a client. If you need a spokesperson, sure. But yeah, I mean, and Palm Beach was fun. It was just really interesting to be kind of a fly on the wall, during a very, historic week, like 2 weeks in American history, that kind of putting all the pieces into place, to kind of build this dream team that's gonna make this country great again. So.
Okay, one more question for you. Dinner with 3 people. Tell me your.
Oh, wow.
Your dream dinner with 3 people.
Dinner with 3 people. Wow. I would say Benjamin Netanyahu. I feel like Trump and Elon are kind of a package deal these days, because they are always coming together. And I didn't get to sit at their table, but they were right next to my table, so I didn't get to sit with them. So I would say a Trump and Elon combo. And then, somebody who's like incredibly entertaining, like either a Joan Rivers or like a Frank Sinatra. It has to be some legendary comedian, like somebody who can crack the jokes and make us all laugh. So I think that would be 3. But I could put on a mean dinner party. So if you can let me grow the list, I can put together an epic list.
So social media has changed a lot with PR. So what would you advise a new PR person that's starting out? What would you advise for them? How would you recommend they design their trajectory?
So this is actually, believe it or not, my 23rd year in PR. So I'm not that old, but I did.
You don't look that old.
I know. Well, thanks to all the technology that we have these days, that I'm very open to. But I did start when I was 18. I got my first job, and I was just under 19 years old when I got that first TV job. So I've literally been doing this, my whole life. So it's changed enormously, 3 or 4 times over already in my career. So I think, it's funny, like I have a degree in broadcast journalism, and like the only thing that I learned how to do in college that actually was useful was how to write a press release. And even then, how you write.
Writing skills. That's crucial.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't like to write, but I do. And being able to really like cut to, the message that's going to, not only when you're working in PR, it's different than writing for news. You have to write for news, and it has to be newsworthy, but it also has to write for your client, because you need to get out what your client needs to say, and you need to make it newsworthy at the same time. So that was a key skill. But PR is something that you don't really learn until you get in there and do it. So like everything, my first like actual job in PR, they give you, you're running coffee, you're making clips, you're putting strategy together and stuff like that. So every single one of those skills is useful. I still do all that stuff to this day. There's no job, even though that I own 2 companies and I've been doing this as long as I have, there's no job that I'm above, because, your mindset to work in PR and be successful in PR is, solutions oriented. If something needs to get done, you do it. If something is broke, you fix it. Like you don't just wait around for somebody else to do it.
Jump in.
Yeah, you just jump in. And it's, when you work on teams and stuff like that where other people aren't doing their job, like I'm always the person that jumps in. It's like, all right, well, you're not doing it. I will. Give it to me. I'll do it. I'll take care of it. It'll get done, because it needs to get done one way or another. So I would say that, you still have to have the ability, there's this debate out that like legacy media is dead. And, shockingly, in the last week, I've been featured in the Washington Post, Vanity Fair, New York Magazine, Bloomberg, the Wall Street Journal.
Legacy media.
I'm going to be in Forbes tomorrow. Legacy media. You would be surprised. all of that's out there, that's what I would consider like a dream, campaign to be able to, like, you would think, like, if you Google me, you will see all those stories. But what really is like moving the needle for me right now is social media. And I was like believe it or not, as much as like I'd had on-camera experience in the past, I didn't really want to be on camera, like talking to my audience. Like I thought it was like obnoxious and annoying to be like an influencer who's like talking to your audience on your social media. But I just, finally just got over that recently when I was doing this press secretary campaign. I was like, people want to hear directly from you. You're entertaining, you're engaging, you're the expert in your field. They like the storyline, so just quit. Like, doesn't matter. If you think you don't look cute enough to be on camera, put on a filter. Like, it's really, as soon as I got over it, like that was like where things like really skyrocketed. So so if somebody wants to get in PR, I think it's a combination of having the skills to place media, because that's not gone yet. I mean, it's still valuable because people, perception is reality, and I'm not so much worried about people's perception of me right now. It's all those stories are online, and say 6 months from now you were looking for a PR firm and you start Googling me and you're like, holy smokes, this lady's been in all these publications. She was going to be White House press secretary. I got to call her up. Who is she? Like, so that's why you need those search engine results online. They don't yield. Like, I really thought that was going to what was going to happen this week is I was going to be all in the press and then my phone was going to blow up the next day, because that's what used to happen. Now it's a little bit more of a gradual growth, and even like I'm seeing it now, because it didn't used to be like that, because legacy media used to dictate everything. Now it's a combination of both. So my recommendation would be, create a niche, be a personality,
Sure.
and have a voice and talk. What you do, you're really good about that, because you're such an expert in your field that I feel like you have a huge following for like very good tips that people want and need for their health. And
spine and pain.
And
Sure.
it's so funny. I think I was telling you this a couple months ago. I had vertigo really bad, and I could not fix it. Like, the doctor had no idea. Finally, what I did, and I'm not like a big TikTok person, I went on TikTok. I was desperate. Like, every time I would get up, I was like nauseous. I was like, feel like I was going to fall. It was very scary, actually. I went on TikTok, and TikTok had this guy who...
Epley's maneuver.
Exactly, where you lay on the side of the bed, where you turn your head, and it was like a new day. Like, I was back to normal, and I had, knock on wood, had not gotten vertigo like that since then, but just totally changed my life. Some random doctor on TikTok who took 5 minutes out of his day to give a tip.
And people can suffer for decades with that and have no idea. And then 2 or 3 or 4 visits with Epley's maneuver with a skilled PT or a skilled chiropractor or neurologist, and gone. I was shocked. Yeah,
So I know, like, for somebody as busy as yourself or other, doctors that are, just the highest, most respected experts in your field, like you are, I know, it seems like silly sometimes to take time out of your day to do that, but like, as somebody who like really was suffering, from something and just was like out of like options and I had no idea what else to do, and I'd seen doctors and I wasn't feeling good, and it was taking time out of my day and my business. It was awful to have somebody who took 5 minutes to make a video like that helped me. It makes it all worth it.
So true. Today you think about your cell phone, you have the Library of Alexandria at your fingertips.
It's so true. Yeah.
There's so much information, and if a person's resourceful, you can get a lot of information from, a lot of young people get their news from TikTok. I mean, I'm not picking on them, but it's true. Social media has really become a resource for just a whole area of expertise. You can gather that information by just getting online sometimes, as opposed to having to go in and see an expert. You can just read and get online. Yeah.
I mean, and I would recommend, once I felt better, you got to go in and like get adjusted and
Sure.
make sure everything is like, copacetic. And I personally, chiropractic and, body work is a huge part of just my wellness
Sure.
because, physically, massage, everything,
Sure.
just to make sure everything is moving, and like detox and all that type of stuff is critical. I think I know when I'm like not at optimum level, which is shocking, because you would think, after the last 2 weeks I would not be as energetic as I am, but I am battling a little bit of a cold, so there is that, which is shocking because I never get sick. But that's what happens when you don't sleep enough, you don't eat your normal food, you don't
Sure.
you don't follow your normal routine. But all of that being said, and that's kind of one of the things that I'm really excited about, the Trump admin doing too, is that I don't think that we're going back to the old way of the world where, everything was dictated by legacy media. I mean, the power that Trump basically instilled in like podcasters this time around, I think was, one of the most differentiating things about the selection. Joe Rogan basically had the final say,
Yeah.
and Kamala Harris didn't even bother to go down there, which I thought was completely fatal flaw.
That was
she did.
interesting.
Absurd. But the Andrew Schultz, the Theo Vaughn, the Aiden Ross, all of these podcasts, I think the power is really being bestowed on podcasters now. And then I know, what they're trying to do with like the press room this time is, yes, there'll be legacy media in there because you have to do that, but it's going to be people who want to play ball. Like they're not going to get in there. And this is one of the things that I really wanted to do. And I think that the person that they chose, who was his existing campaign spokesperson, which is why I understand that they picked her, because, she had that existing relationship with the campaign. But, that person isn't necessarily like last administration. Trump had 4 spokespeople. And there's a different press secretary for a different moment. So maybe I wasn't the first one up, because like the first one up is going to they're going to fight with the media. You're going to get everybody who's like picking on him for everything that he's doing. The media is
going to pick on Trump.
Shocking, right? I know I always see him circling the wagons and licking their chops because they make tons of money off of fighting with Trump. It's diabolical. Like if they would just like, although I will say, like a lot of the media that I talked to, because I did a ton of interviews, they having those conversations with them, I was like, listen, if I was going to get in there, I can be anybody's best friend in 10 seconds. So that's exactly how I would treat the situation. Like, I'm not in there to fight with people. I come from a lifestyle PR background. If I'm not nice to press and I don't build relationships with press, I'm not getting any coverage. Like, they're not doing anything for me. You don't get things from people by being a jerk to them. So I never understood that, the combative role of the press secretary with the press. What do you think they're going to write about your client, the president, if you're not nice to them?
Yes.
It's like, it's not rocket science. So maybe she's the first one for the moment to sort of take those slings and arrows, and then maybe they get somebody a little bit more fun in.
You got to be tough to even consider that job.
Yeah,
I can't
it's
imagine
grueling.
that.
It's grueling. She's a very young woman. She's only 27. She's the youngest press secretary in history. So yeah, I mean, I think it'll be interesting. But like I'm never say never. We'll see what happens. I'm not very interested in living in DC. I made that very, very well known that I'd probably live part time in Palm Beach and then fly up to DC during the week when I got to be in front of the podium. But
tough geography.
I love Arizona. That would be hard for me to leave too. I do love my life.
Were you born in Arizona?
No, I'm from Colorado originally.
Okay, you said that.
Yeah.
Correct. Anything you'd like to share?
Anything I'd like to share? No, I think that we had a really wonderful conversation.